So, today we're going to be working on creating, what do you call it? A YAML parser for my project, EasyBMP. Now, this YAML side project, it still relates to EasyBMP, but I'm going to make it its own project. Because it can really be used for other things as well, but I'm calling it SIA for C YAML, right? I wanted to be aware. I'm not great at naming stuff, but so just to make it clear, I'm not done developing EasyBMP, and the series is not done. I just figured that this is more of a side track, so I'm gonna put it under this extras category, right? So I believe I left off in episode 4 of developing the EasyBMP, right? The BMP coder, the BMP encoder. Um, and there's going to be a part 5, maybe even a part 6, right? But right now, I'm just doing this extra stuff that's not exactly related to the main tasks of making a BMP encoder. And for example, what we're doing today is working on a YAML parser so that I can do configuration files and data serialization, data definition, whatever you want to call it, right? But I figured, um, so that program I have called EasyBMP as opposed to libEasyBMP, the thing that just runs the what do you call it, to the functions from libEasyBMP. I figured that thing would be a little bit better if maybe you just gave it a text file that describes the image in terms of shapes and pixels, and then it plots those for you, right? Um, and I think maybe there's maybe room to argue that this is useful. For example, it if you are brief enough in your text, you can potentially make an image using less data than the bitmap picture itself, right? And even if it's not useful in that sense, I think it's still useful for configuration file, right? Um, and what else? A configuration file. Well, besides that, the fact that I want to do it, I think it's fun, right? Um, and in my case, it's better than perpetually recompiling EasyBMP. Instead, EasyBMP can just take these things, and there's no need to constantly um, recompile it. I guess except for it to use new versions of libEasyBMP. But otherwise, every time I want to draw a new picture, I have to recompile EasyBMP because the calls to functions inside of libEasyBMP are done from within that binary, right? So there's a better way, clearly, right? So that's what we're working on today. Now, as of late, I like to try to um, hide all the thinking and the drafting and all that stuff from you guys, and just have that ready for when I'm trying to program. Sorry, I just had some coffee and it kind of came back up a little bit. Um, so, for example, in the previous episode where I implemented Bressingham's line algorithm, uh, I didn't have you guys sitting there watching a fool struggle to reason with the algorithm for 2 days, because what it took me 2 days to figure it out, right? Well, not like 48 hours, but over the course of 2 days, I was trying to just understand why. I believe that uh, developers should understand code. That might be controversial, but I believe that you should understand code, right? If you're working with it, that is at least. Uh, but this is proving to take too much time. Now, I don't really get large periods of time to just work on programming projects because typically I'm doing something with my girlfriend or with my family or whatever it is, right? Um, but when I have time here and there, I've been trying to work on this state diagram, this like transition graph, for a YAML parser. And I realized, all right, well, at this point, it's taking quite a bit of time, and I may as well start live streaming it, right? Now, I'm not going to walk through all these states right now, Oops, I'm not going to walk through all these states right now because that would actually take quite a bit of time. I'm just going to jump in from where I left off, and I'm going to explain that so it's clear what I'm doing. And then really the meat of that whole thing of getting to know the state diagram is going to take place when I take this and I put it into code, right? Now, you might want to say, why didn't you do code first? I think this is just better because it's visual. You know, I think that visual. Well, I guess code is visual too because you read it, but like visual, like you look at it, right? You really look at it and you don't read it, right? I think visual communication is simply more intuitive than anything else. You know, babies can't read, you know, they can't speak, right? But you show them things and they understand. It's just this innate thing that we're good at comprehending. So to me, this is just like making it more sane for me. Uh, and besides that, it looks fucking cool. I think so, at least. Um, and yeah, and in a way, one could say it's documentation because I think this is probably a bit easier to follow than a whole however much code this takes. Really not a whole lot, honestly, but yeah. So basically, where I've left off is that uh, whenever you define a list item, it needs to have basically the same subroutine as when you define the name of a variable, which some other variable might become the child of because it's like a list item for that variable, right? Which would be this here. So my main state, when you first define your first ever variable, before you ever even start defining lists or variables that are a member of this list, if this is your first variable, uh, is that, you know, when you're doing that, um, well, actually, I was talking more about the value, I guess, so we'll walk through this too. So you start, right? As soon as you start reading any character that's not like a pound symbol for a comment, um, you know, or I'm just gonna say you can't start off with any of this stuff. You need to start immediately writing a character, right? So this is not gonna be a 100% YAML parser, and to be honest with you, I don't care. That's like maybe I'll do it later, but YAML to me just has some things I don't personally agree with. For example, the usage of tabs, the usage of space only and not tabs. I like tabs. I don't like spaces. And for example, how sometimes you can use the hyphen if you want it to be a list member, or otherwise you can use no hyphen and all that. I think that sucks. So and I think I've handled that somewhere. Uh, so anyway, the point is, it's my project, so I'm going to be a little bit picky here and there with how much I Oh, is the audio doubled right now? Was the audio doubled the whole time for the music in the background? That's silly. Okay, I'm just gonna mute that. I hope that wasn't too bad. Okay, anyway. Actually, let me check. Was that really that bad? Oh wow, the mic was muted the whole time, wasn't it? That's quite bad. I was saying quite a bit. Hmm. Yeah, let me check. How long was I not speaking for? Apparently a while. Well, so as you were seeing here, this was my order from when me and my family got Chinese food 2 weeks ago now or something, maybe last week. I don't know. But anyway, I was talking about parsing YAML, right? Um, and I believe you can do this. And if not, I'd like for you to be able to do that. But also, I was talking about it's you don't necessarily need to give symbols a value, right? Um, and that's shown here, right? Now, I do think if something has a value, then that means it must have a comma. I mean, a colon. I guess that's the logic, right? If, for example, address has a value, it's like these two fields, right? Um, and you can do lists like this, right? And you also do lists like this, which is basically the same thing as if you had done this, right? Um, and this is in line with the idea that if it has a value, then it has to have a colon. Now, these have no values. This is just a literal. So perhaps the nomenclature needs to change if that matters at all. Um, for example, perhaps I need to distinguish between the idea of reading a child item and reading a child item with a symbol. The thing is, I guess it doesn't need to read a colon. It could, you could just, hmm. Here's the reason I will use about it. If you don't want to put the colon, then that's fine. Uh, anything indented below it will be treated as a belonging to it, right? Um, so it's kind of weird. Now it's like colon or comma are the guys. YAML is actually rather hard to parse. It's not very straightforward. There's lots of kind of like um, ways you can do it. But anyway, so I guess before we decide if we're going back to Q0 or this guy, we're going to read our indentation level. And I wish to see how we get on my face. All right, here we go. Cool. So it's gonna be kind of hard to get a line going to over there, but I think I have an idea. It's just gonna be ugly as hell. But whatever. Um, Just can't believe my mic was muted for so long. That's so stupid, man. Um, sure. Let's just put it like here, I guess. Um, what was the idea here? If you read a new line, right? You know what? I'm tired of doing this state machine shit. Let's go here. Let's just start programming, man. Let's start programming. I'm tired of this. All right, let's see. So let's do Cia.h, right? So Now, one thing is everything here is a string, right? And it has to get passed. It has to get passed to like memory somehow. Like there has to be a way to take these things and get them into the C program and memory, right? And the thing is that sometimes the variable can have any type of value, and it can have heterogeneous lists, right? Um, so I'm thinking of like a struct that kind of just hides all these things, right? So I'm gonna just make struct like a variable, right? And this is going to contain um, a pointer to some value, right? Also, it will contain what do you call this, right? Uh, well, really, what I want is mm, I want it to point to more of itself, right? Um, okay, cool. So how about this? This will be for its main value. So if you had something like this, right? So right, something like this. I don't know why I kind of typed it like that. Here, how about this? Age one. I guess like a newborn is using this, right? In this case, that goes into variable data, and we keep track of its like size in bytes, right? Um, which actually would allow me to use rather small data, right? Um, for example, size, right? And yeah. But this is stupid because the alignment problem. I don't want to add any extra padding, so I'll go ahead and do this, right? Um, Now, the rest needs to be, I guess, just a bunch of other variables to handle things such as this, right? That's my idea. So for example, if you had so this would be treated as a string, right? Two strings, but then let's say we just did like that. I guess I don't know why. So let's say we had something like this, right? Common thing if you deal with data, right? Or like just dumb shit like that, right? In which case, I think it's better to just handle always any list as a bunch of these variable things, right? Um, and then I guess in turn, every variable could also potentially have, for whatever reason, right? Like any variable itself could also be a list, right? So I guess it'd be something like that, right? Um, yeah. So how about we do that? Eh, I just wonder if this is like if there's a problem because it's like recursive, right? I don't think so though. So I'm just gonna call this members, right? I guess like these are the guys that are within it, right? and this will be members length, I suppose. I guess maybe I also need to keep track of members capacity, right? Okay, now I realize that size t could be on 30-bit system, it could be 4 bytes on this case. I guess these are all 4 bytes, so it's fine. And on a 64-bit system, that this is still aligned properly, so I guess that's fine. It doesn't really matter if let's see, does that compile? Okay, so there's something wrong with the definition there from that struct, so that's cool. Alright, anyway, this is all state machine. Uh, so I guess what happens is you would give basically a pointer to the variable, and then you give pointers to the variables, and the name, the string that you would read that identifies it, right? Now, you can make a bunch of function calls, one for each, like register variable, right? And yeah, fuck it, let's do that, right? I guess so. Then I guess internally this thing needs to have this idea of a registry, right? And that's cool and all. Or I could just have a character pointer for the symbol, I guess. Um, so for example, yeah. So I guess then it just comes a matter of setting. Whoops. Of setting these guys, right? Uh, you know, eh, yeah, and then I guess there has to be a way for you to kind of like know how to hmm. So I guess hmm. Internally the program has some I'm thinking about like how this goes back and forth between easy BMP and this guy, right? Uh I guess it's better if that this thing just gives you the variables, right? Or maybe you could register the variable. The only thing is then like uh I guess you have to I guess you don't really set a variable. I don't think you set a variable and give back its pointer. I guess when you read the file, you'll see all the variables, and then you just pick and choose the ones that are valid, right? Ignoring ones that are not. Because otherwise, let's say you give an integer variable, right? And you say set its value, and then we get all sorts of crap from this variable. So I think this thing instead is just going to give you variables, right? It's going to give you variables back, and it will keep track of the name that it had read, right? So unfortunately, variables are quite fucking huge. Like, in this case, it's fucking like 56 bytes for one variable. Eh. But that's what you get for convenience, I suppose. So, um, yeah. Alrighty. Well, now we don't register variables. I guess the idea is just get get variables, I suppose, right? So I suppose what this would do is I guess it's just going to write to a buffer, right? It shouldn't like return a buffer for you. So I'm just gonna say that this thing is going to it's gonna return whatever however many bytes this is for the number of variables it read. Go ahead and make it signed, right? It will return -1. Well, no, if it read 0 variables, then it just read 0 variables, right? So that's fine. Um, so cool. Okay. Well, then it takes a pointer to variables pointer, so it's just going to be an array of variables, right? Eh. Let's see. I don't know how many variables you could possibly have. I'm just going to go ahead and call it. I'm going to guess unsigned short is good enough. You know what I mean? Like, are you really going to have that many of those, right? You're going to have like more than 65,000 variables, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and put unsigned short, right? And it's going to be a pointer to update its length, right? So you'll need to make a buffer to keep track of your variables, right? And capacity, I don't know. Uh, I don't think you should put your variables on the stack just because of how many fucking variables ends up being in this case, right? So I'm gonna have there be, well, how many variables you could potentially have, and then how big one variable ends up being, I suppose, right? So yeah, a capacity, and then I just want a file handle for the file is going to work off of, right? So yeah, I guess that's really it. And this is just a state machine, so yeah, I mean it's not much of a library. I guess it's really just this thing. I mean, I guess I can add like a variable init function, right? Just so yeah, let's go ahead and do it, right? So the variable init function, right, is going to set all these guys. Um, it needs a pointer, right? It needs a pointer to all the variables to init, right? Um, and I can make it work on a buffer too. You know, it doesn't have to really be called on every variable. But I guess this doesn't really need to return anything, right? So eh, fuck it. Let's have this go over. Let's have this go over the amount of them, right? So I'm gonna say I am going to set the members to null by default just to save memory, because otherwise there's a lot of these, right? And I don't know how often there's going to be nested items, right? I'm not sure if that's super common. I think typically it's kind of this very, I don't know. So I'm going to have it. Um, well, I guess if you know the variables you anticipate, but then we're getting back to this idea of registering variables, right? Um, Decisions to make, right? Um, well, I guess registering variables really does relate to the idea of this really does relate to the idea of what do you call it, right? Initializing them properly, right? So I think it's better than just going through. Like, all right, here, the user gave you a lot of garbage data. Now go through it. Like, nah. How about we throw away that data or crash on that data, right? And we just stick with what is supposed to be there, the registered variables, right? I think that's better. So actually, what this will be see a register variable, right? In which case we have one variable to be registered, right? Um, I guess in this case, it would take a void pointer, right? Um, to whatever the hell you want to get set in your program, right? Um, so just then we need the variable size, right? And so, for example, yeah, whatever. I guess that's probably fine. I don't know. Um, and then the symbol that it's associated with. Uh, yeah, that's cool. And I think there's sufficient infrastructure to still have it potentially be a one of these things, right? I guess what it will do internally is it will make a new variable for this, right? And that's the state thing I was talking about. Yeah. So let's see. You register a variable. Right now, it makes that new one, and it represents it with this internal thing. Um, right. And it's going to start filling that internal variable, and at the end, it's going to memset the thing that you gave it, right? Um, so then there's this idea of like the registry, I guess, which is just variables and their symbols. Um, Now, variables already have symbols, but they don't always need to have symbols. For example, with this, where it's just literal shit underneath it, I think that can be done away with by adding this idea of the registry, right? In which case we'll have a bunch of symbols and variables, right? So I guess what we'll have here is a variable registry pair, right? Just so we can pair the two data. So this will be for the symbol, right? And of course, we need to keep track of its length unless it's zero delimited. Um, and so, for example, here we don't have this symbol length anymore, right? Let me just put this up here. Right. And a pointer to a variable, right? And what we'll have here, the variable registry is basically just a ton of these, right? But of course, I'm going to have the length of it as well. So we'll have this will be its items, right? And then I guess why not? You can have a ton of them, so make it size t just for the joke of it, right? This will be its length, right? And then another size t for its capacity. Although I really can't imagine you having that many variables, right? So I guess it would still fit on 4 and 8 byte alignment if I put two unsigned shorts, right? So let's just go ahead and put two unsigned shorts. I guess, if somebody later wants to have some crazy program that has that many variables, then they have to tweak this code. Let's be real, nobody's going to be looking at the code anyway. This is just my playground. So, cool. There's that. Dope. Let's see. So, yeah, basically register a variable. The symbol goes into there, and the void pointer data, these fields get filled out, right? Oh, one sec. I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. Weird. Parser. Oh, finished all my coffee. All right. A water bottle. One of them is empty, but I have two water bottles, so I'm chilling. All right. Thirst is quenched, right? So, yeah, we were dealing with this idea of variable register, right? And so as I was saying is these members that were previously in here are being handled by this idea of the variable registry pair. And what happens is it's some internal states going to be kept track of, which is going to be basically these dudes, right? And so obviously this is capturing this. And as we read through the configuration file, once we read this symbol, then we know that we're going to be setting the data equal to this variable. But this variable will be initialized to actually point here to the variable you gave it, right? Um, mhm. We'll be pointing. Okay, so let's see. No, I think you still need to have this. I was gonna say maybe you can just have it then point to that variable, and we can keep track of its length and stuff. For example, if you give an integer pointer, but we're not dealing with integer pointers, right? Instead, we're dealing with some other thing. Um, so I guess maybe actually it's probably better to just probably use the variable registry. It's abstract and fucked up. Um, but I guess it's better to do that. So the way your program would work is your program would basically create a variable registry. Um, and then you would just go through that. Now, then I guess you could say, oh, for access, you should have a hash map. And yeah, I guess I should. Like, for what it's worth, this is basically just the same structure of the hash map. Um, but also, I don't know. I mean, also, you know what your variables are. So can't you just place them according to an enumeration? Like, do you need a hash map? I don't think you need a hash map. I think you would just access these variables according to an offset because these are all of the same type now, right? So, yeah. Okay, so now instead, we're not even going to do this. Instead, we're just going to have the variable registry and we're going to just modify that, right? So now it's going to be a struct pointer to a variable registry. I guess I'm sneezing. Um, yeah, I guess all you do is you provide its symbol, and that's a symbol that it'll use. All right. So the registry is honestly it's using pointers, so it's probably just on the stack, right? So I guess now we have more kind of like a function to initialize the registry, right? Yeah. And I guess this thing will really handle initializing all the variables. So that's chill. And this thing will handle resizing it, right? Something like that. So this what this will return is this will return the size of the registry. I mean, actually, that's probably not necessary either. I guess this can also just be void. Um, or it could be Boolean, right? Just to say like whether or not it actually registered or not. Because I guess there are things that can go wrong. For example, we could fail to resize it right by when we try to add a new variable, things like that. So I guess that can just be bool. Uh, but I think this is all we need. I think besides that, then it's just a matter of actually making the parsing right. So I guess what we'd have is a let's see. So parsing is I don't know. I mean, we have the file, right? We have a registry where we're setting our variables, and then yeah, I mean, so let's see. What does this function return though, right? This function, I guess it returns bool. It's just true or false whether or not it worked, right? So, so, all right, well, struct and the file pointer. I guess that's all we need. Very, very small kind of little thing there, right? So, so obviously there's no entry point because this is going to be like compiled with the tax C flag. Uh, but yeah, so we have some functions, right? So we have these functions. Let's start implementing them, right? So just by default, so this will at least compile. Um, let's go ahead and put some of this stuff, right, just to make it work. All right, so initializing the registry. All right, well, the first thing is the pointer to the registry can't be null, right? All right, so now we know it's not null. I guess what we'll do is we'll give it a default holding of 5 variables, right? No. I mean, I guess why don't we just have it take how many it wants, right? Uh, and this could be an optional. Uh, this could be optional. So I guess if you just put 0, um, if you put 0, it's going to just give you the default 5, uh, which is kind of funny, but I don't know what else to do. So anyway, let's give this unsigned short, right? Uh, right. So I'm going to try to allocate enough memory for the registry pairs, right? Because that's the whole point. Um, Now the idea is that you never really set symbol. You really give symbol. Symbol should just point to like an integer literal via the program, right? Um, Yeah, it should just be set to that pointer. So for example, yeah, the when you give this character pointer, right? Um, it should just take on that character pointer. I don't know if I'm thinking about this incorrectly, where you actually need to set it, and it can't just be pointing to that memory. Uh, because I mean it's in memory. The program made space, from if you go into the assembly in the text section, right? That's going to be there. It's going to. So I think that's fine. I don't see why that should be a problem. I think that's okay. Uh, so we don't really need to do any initialization on the registry pair items themselves. Uh, except that, uh, yeah. So actually, we're not. This is not going to be a pointer to a variable. This is just going to be the variable, right? Um, yeah. Okay. I mean, sure. That's cool. All right. Yeah. So we put a variable on there, and then we have a symbol. So I guess really, you could have just I could have just put it directly in there, and just had to be a list of variables. Um, so there isn't really a need to have a variable registry. Uh, but I like the idea. I think it just kind of programmatically makes more sense, right? Um, I don't know. I mean, does it make sense in a performance standpoint? I mean, if it's just a list of variables, then I mean, it really is this. I don't know if it's dumb or not, but that's just how I'm gonna go with it. Um, Otherwise, we just need that one structure. The registry is just a list of those. So otherwise, okay, what does access look like? Access otherwise looks like, I don't know, like something like this, right? So remember, it would be on the stack in your program, right? I'd imagine you set an enumeration, so I guess it would be like, so I don't know, like let's just say so you had a variable called like brightness, right? Um, I mean, I guess yeah, that would access the proper registry pair, right? Um, yeah, that's kind of ugly though, isn't it? Right. So then you have this. Um, I guess alternatively, right? If the registry is just an array, then you would do, and now you directly access the variable, and then you can just do things like this, I guess, right? I think that's better. So actually, let's go ahead and do away with this variable registry, right? And even this registry pair, right? We'll just have the symbol for the variable. Um, and registry init, right? Uh, which I guess, do we still have that? I guess we do. I guess it's a matter of setting every variable within the registry, which is just an array of variables, to have, for example, 0 for data size and null pointers, I suppose, by default. Okay. Well, then I guess we have here then is that we no longer have. Now this is just an array of variables, right? Okay. I guess that is that. Um, I guess you still have a variable registry if you wanted. Hmm, no, no, that's dumb. That's I think a stupid idea. Okay, whatever. So yeah, I guess there's no more variable registry. There's just the variable. Uh, all right. So in which case now we just have what the fuck? The registry, and we're no longer doing malloc. You should just put it directly on the stack. All right, that's kind of ugly, but whatever. Uh, yeah. All right. So all right, so we can have a null pointer, right? And the rest of this stuff doesn't matter anymore because we're not using so many data structures. Okay, so the capacity, right? I guess it's a matter of doing it for every variable that's in there. So we have unsigned short I equals 0, and then I is less than capacity. I guess in this case, it's a pointer, right? So yeah. What the fuck is that, man? Jeez, bruh. It's got a fucking Amber Alert. That scared the fuck out of me, dog. I think I'm even anywhere near that, man. Well, I feel bad for that kid, but god damn, that freaked me the fuck out, dog. I'm all shaky now. I fucking hate that sound. Christ. Fucking hell. One sec. I'm finna watch some TV to kind of unjolt myself. That fucking freaked me out. Oh my god. Okay, I'm back. I mean, sheesh, that was, oh my god, like, that was loud as fuck. Oh my god. I'm just here, it's quiet, it's nighttime, that fucking shit goes off and it's loud as fuck. Anyway, so yeah, I've muted that for now. I really wish there was a way to just disable the sound but still get the Amber Alerts, and it's kind of a pretty big oversight, I think, where it's either no Amber Alerts at all, which I think you should still see them, or that loud ass fucking noise that can go off at any time, including nighttime while you're asleep. Right. Um, I think there's a middle ground, which is just don't play that loud ass fucking noise, that terrifying fucking noise, right? But still show the alert. Maybe I'm some sort of, you know, oracle who was granted some divine vision for seeing it that way, but um, anyway. Yeah, so initializing the variable here, it's just an array, right? So, as per this, members will be by default null unless necessary, and everything else will be set to 0, right? So data size, members length, and members capacity. Yeah, data size, members length, members capacity. Those are the other fields. Dope. And then it's done. All right. Cool. All right. So now, then, uh, what we will do is make it so you can start registering variables, right? Eh. So I guess this is going to be a first come first serve kind of deal. So it's just going to get placed at a position. So I guess it's your responsibility if you wanted to follow a particular order. Then you need to make sure that you're registering variables in that order as well, right? Um, and so have it. It will have a symbol, and it should also specify a default number of sub variables, right? Um, right. So this would be members length is size t, right? For whatever reason. So that can just be 0 if you want it to be. And again, we don't have this anymore. Right. So, of course, if start off by no null pointers, right? One second, I just got a text from my girlfriend while for work. All right. Sorry, I'll get back to programming. Yeah, so now this memory again is statically allocated, not dynamically. So we have a pointer for length, but not for capacity. Um, right. So cool. Now again, I'm not going to do hashing or anything. So, and I'm not going to check if that symbol is already in there. So I'm just going to let you do it. So if for whatever reason you want to have several of a variable by the same symbol, you can do that. I don't think it makes any sense to do that, but I'll let you do that. So I guess in some weird future where my code is getting used for very serious things, um, and like uh, a machine is actually orchestrating the code to read this, right, blah, 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 and it doesn't have any safeguards to ensure that the same symbol isn't put in there twice, then I don't know. But yeah, it's on the programmer then to make sure that they're not putting the same symbol in there twice, because I will let you do that. You can do that. You can do whatever the hell you want. So yeah, and so similarly, symbol can't be null either. So we got about a billion checks here, right? So right, and the members length. How many members should have, right? So what we'll do then is So I guess now what we'll do is we'll start setting stuff, right? So the registry at its length, right, will be set. Uh, well, now we're doing a pointer, right? So its data will still be null, but its symbol will store the same symbol that we put on the stack, right? Or the same memory address, right? So the pointer, it will point to the same area, right? Um, yeah, because it's a character pointer, so we're storing that data, right? We're not storing its literal string. We're just saving memory address, but that should still be in there because it's not like um, dynamically allocated memory. It's going to be programmed in there with a string literal. For example, I see something like maybe somebody calling. So in this case, this is an array, right? Let's say you only have 5 variables that you intend to register, right? And I want to register the variable called let's call it like a shopping list, right? Something really stupid, but right. And shopping list should have 5 members as well. This is how I see it being done, right? That's the idea. Uh, so for example, that yeah, there's that, right? Okay, cool. So that's that, right? And now we need to expand its members, right? So, let's see. I guess what's more important is so the thing should have already been initialized, so it should already be 0, right? Um, so I guess what we'll do then is what do I call it again? Call it members length, right? Members length is already, or I guess it's more if members capacity, right? Is less than uh I guess we call the members length as a variable here, right? It's kind of weird. Uh so yeah. Um whatever. I mean by default it should be 0, so In this case, we're going to allocate the memory. But what matters then is if the thing is null, right? If it's null, we need to actually allocate the memory first. Otherwise, we need to just reallocate it, right? So yeah. So if it's null, let's just allocate it, right? Uh, okay, this is getting a little bit annoying, so I think I'm just gonna do this. Here, let's do that, right? I don't like reading all this like registry and then dereferencing the pointers. It's kind of ugly, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put variable, right? Memory length should already have been initialized as 0, right? So yeah. All right. Anyway, so then if I guess it's possible that it's still no, right? Well, let's just why don't we just check that later, right? That can be that can be checked at the end of all this. Right. Otherwise, if it's not no, we're gonna just go ahead and reallocate it, right? But actually, in that case, I guess we need like I need a swap pointer, don't I? Right. I guess both of these need to check for null, but this is a little bit different. The logic is not exactly the same because the other one is using a swap pointer when we're reallocating, right? Um, well, mm, no, it's simply improper use. If you want to register a variable, then you register it as is. If you want to change that, you go back later. So I'm just gonna say this should always be null, right? Um, so fuck all of that, right? What we're going to do is HLO bro. Oh, hello, bro. Hey, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Do you learn Python from book? No, I learned Python in university. Um, kind of learned it. Well, kind of learned it at college like twice. So when I was in high school, I took some college classes. My school had like a really good deal where it was kind of let you go and take classes at the local community college for very cheap. And then once I graduated from high school, then I went to a proper university. There's nothing wrong with community college, but then I went to my university where I got my bachelor's and master's degree from. I suppose, I mean, there was a textbook, but I didn't really read it. But I guess I would say if you want to learn Python from a book, eh, that's also fine. But the books are much of a self-taught method, right? You read the book, and you comprehend it on your own. Not a bad idea if you want to learn Python, but that's not how I learned it. Nowadays, since I'm out of school, uh, I guess I do learn from the book because I don't have the money to go take class. I don't have the money or the time to go take classes anymore because of work. But yeah, that's doesn't need to be a switch thing. I guess this is basically just if it's anything but zero. No, I guess this is still all under a block. Okay, cool. So I guess that's how we're doing that, right? So if it's saying that this variable needs to have members, then we're going to allocate memory for those members, right? And if we fail to allocate memory for those members and we still have a null pointer, then we're just going to go ahead and exit out of this function and say that it failed to run properly, thus it returns false. Um, let's case now, we're just going to have the memory address copied, right? So we're not going to copy memory, but we're going to have this refer to the memory address um, of the string literal, right? So it's going to store the same pointer. Um, and at which point I believe that we're done, right? That's all that has to be done to register a variable. So I guess then we would increase the value of that variable of the length, and then we return true. That's it. So then it's just the big deal of parsing this file, right? Now I think the problem is I want to compile this, and then it's going to yell at me. Um, yeah, I need to copy this signature. Yeah, so it's a little bit different, right? As you can see there, and then this is a bit different too. Well, this is a bit more than different. This is more than a bit different. It's actually quite different. It'd be nice to just do this. But since we're dealing with since this is not a structure, yeah, and we don't want to do a structure because then it's kind of gross, like registry. Otherwise, it's like registry dot variables, and then we offset that, right? Um, yeah, I just kind of like. I think it's better if it's just like variables offset, almost like it look like the hash map notation on Python. And basically, again, that was this thing that I was talking about, right? And I guess it wouldn't be this more so. It would be like right, as opposed to just this. I think this is better. So we're yeah. So anyway, let's not undo that. Let's you keep that there as a reference, right? Eh, and yeah. Okay, so let's just get rid of this old signature and this needs to end semicolon. Okay, cool. So based on that, I think we should be able to compile this. Oh shit. Okay. Um. Oh yeah, but I don't want this thing on the stack. I want to just straight up take. So I need to. So my issue here is that I needed to get the memory address of that. I needed the offset, right, from there. So that's a simple fix, right? The simple fix is that I'm going to ask for the memory address of that variable within the array. All right, so this is just unused parameter stuff, right? And this is just whatever. This is nothing important, right? Um, cool. So I need to use a U here, right? Argument of size he with three. What argument three has size of int, right? And I don't know. Oh, okay. So variable registry is still being referenced in this. Yeah, here we go. Right, and it returns a bool. So I'm just gonna have this return true, right? Um, yeah, this is a matter of its status of how it went, right? And that can be changed later. For example, if it wants to point out the particular place that it went wrong or whatever, right? But also that could really just be done in error messaging, right? So yeah. Anyway, this is no longer a variable registry. This is going to be this, right? And so of course then I need to keep track of making sure that we don't write outside of memory of the buffer, and then that's that, right? And it should just return true by default, because it's not implemented yet. All right. Um. Okay, so I think that's because we're talking about this here, then, right? So it expects a pointer to the registry. Oh, but I guess in that case, it would be dot, right? Let's see. What? Okay, cool. There we go. I think that should have fixed that part, right? Okay, so now we're just talking about mismatching on the printf formatting, right? Um, yeah, because length is a unsigned short. Those are all unsigned shorts. So on line 20, you guys need to fix that. I need to make this specifier HU, I believe, right? Yeah, for some reason, so members length can't be size T because we're going to be using unsigned short, right? Um, yeah, so let's go ahead and make that HU, right? And again, HU and HU, right? I think I should have fixed that. And the only thing we'll have is the unused variable, so I'm still in the process of making this, right? Okay, yeah, so now there's a mismatch in the header file. Because I made this an unsigned short instead of size T. Cool, now everything is just unused parameter stuff, which is exactly what I wanted. Yeah. Alright, cool. So that's the initial design. We actually didn't get to making any state machine. Probably gonna end it here because my girlfriend's gonna be coming in a little bit. Uh, so yeah, but there will be subsequent streams. We're actually gonna start parsing. I think I just finished basically everything to the point of parsing. So yeah. Well, thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the stream, even though this one had some weirdness today. I think between like that alert on my phone that freaked me out. It might have even freaked you out if you heard it, right? If it got picked up on the microphone, you're just, I'm just talking. Maybe you're just watching your programming live stream, and then all of a sudden there's that fucking blaring noise, right? And whatever, but yeah. So I'm gonna end the stream here. Next, I guess episode of this extras part. Again, the series is not done. This I'm just doing extras right now. The next extra will be the actual development of the uh, parser, right? Which is going to be based off of the state machine. And that might actually take a few episodes because I think that type of stuff tends to take quite a bit of time. But yeah, thank you for watching, and yeah, tune into the next video, I guess.